Today's lesson is your review for quiz 2-1. The first question on your quiz is going to ask you to find the distance between points -3, -6, and 5, -6. You are going to use the distance formula to do so. The first thing you need to do is take your two ordered pairs and you need to label them as X and Y. Remember, it's common to label the first ordered pair as the ones, x1, y1, and the second ordered pair as x2, y2. Now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to place them into the formula which I have for you right here. Notice, remember that the formula, we start with our skeleton on our paper so that when we go to our calculator, we can put the correct answer in. So we need to make sure that we're subtracting and then squaring, that we're adding together, and then we're going to do the same thing for the y's, subtract them, and then add them together. Let me expand that. All right, so in these first two blanks, I need to put x2 minus x1. So x2, 5 minus x1, -3. That's exactly what's going to go in there. There we go. And then right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my y's. y2, -6 minus y1, -6. Oh, I could have made a mistake. That's good. All right, now I don't have my fancy calculator. Well, actually, wait a minute. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Let me see. Let me go ahead and go to my Desmo Scientific Calculator. And I can go ahead and put in here the square root, and I can go ahead and subtract just like they were. Now, let me go ahead and do this because now I can split my screen. There we go. Perfect. 5 minus, oh, nope, I'm outside, hold on. 5 minus -3 squared plus parentheses -6 minus -6 squared. And take a look at that. It shows that my answer is 8. It shows that my answer is 8. I'm going to go ahead and slide that on off. So I didn't need this because my answer was simply 8. This was my answer. This is my exact answer, okay, because it has no decimal. The square root has disappeared. All right, let's try that one more time. Calculate the distance between, so remember it's asking me for distance. Distance. That's going to be the distance formula. Between C1, X1, Y1, because it's my first ordered pair, and L2, -7. X2, Y2, because it's my second ordered pair. I'm going to go on my quiz and I'm going to set up what I'm going to put into my calculator. Before I grab my calculator, I set it up on my paper. I make sure that I can subtract my x's and I make sure that I can subtract my y values. Now, another thing that you could do to help you out is you could use your color. X2 is 2 minus x1 is the -3. So you could use your color like so, and then you could do your y's in the purple, -7, and y1 is -3. Once again, we can go straight to our calculator. We can go straight to our calculator. So let me split that screen one more time and grab that. I can go ahead and clear that, and let's go ahead and do the next one. 2 minus -3 squared plus. I know this calculator doesn't act exactly like the ones you have, but it is pretty close. Now this one is giving me a decimal answer, so that tells me that it does have a square root. For this would be my approximate answer. It would tell me that your calculator is going to give it a square root. I'm going to go ahead and figure that out. Give me just 1 second, you guys. Okay, so it's 25 plus 16. It's going to be the square root of 41 same decimal, square root of 41. So my exact answer in my calculator would be the square root of 41. This would be exact. And depending on where you are asked to round, would depend on what your answer would be for your approximate. Now, we practiced rounding to the nearest tenth, which means you're going to look at that 4. Let me go ahead and do the rounding over here. Remember, rounding to the nearest fourth, or sorry, to the nearest tenth would be this place right here. And this one is going to tell me if I should let the 4 rest or if I should add one more, and these guys didn't matter. So if I were rounding to the nearest tenth, I would say 6.4. This would be my approximate. And this would be my tenths, to the nearest tenths. If I were approximating to the nearest hundredth, this is the hundredths place. So this guy's going to tell me if I should round or not. I didn't need those. If I were rounding to the nearest hundredth, I would put 6.40. This would be the approximate to the nearest hundredth, just depending on what the test asks. All right, let's go ahead and look at this next one. Consider your line y equals 8x minus 6. What is the slope of a line parallel to this line? Well, let's find the slope. To do so, remember it has to be in the form y equals mx plus b. Oh, good, it is. So then here is my slope. My slope for my line parallel, they would have to be the same slope. They have to have the same slope. So m would equal 8 when we're parallel. All right, what would be the slope? What would be the slope of a line perpendicular to this one? Well, remember, when my lines are perpendicular, I'm going to take my slope of 8 and I'm going to make it the opposite sign. So it has to be the opposite sign. So it's going to change to negative, and then it needs to be the reciprocal, which means it's going to flip. The 8's going to go to the bottom, and remember, 8 is a fraction when it's over 1, so the 1's going to come to the top. Opposite reciprocals. Change the sign and flip it. All right, the last 2 questions on your test are going to ask you to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. Remember that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, of a line that passes through our given point and is parallel, in this case, to the given line. Now, notice that the line that you are given, it is not in slope-intercept form. So the first thing we need to do is put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this line and I need to solve for the variable y, because that's how I get y equals mx plus b. The first thing I do every time is take the x value and move it to the other side. Now it looks like it wants me to get rid of the minus by adding, but it is a positive 2x, so I need to go ahead and subtract it. I need to do the opposite of what the x is itself. I cannot take the 2 away from the 14 and say 12 because the 2 has an x and the 14 does not. So I'm simply going to write it as negative 2x plus 14. I want to put the x first because remember, my goal is to get in this form. So if I have x first, I have a better chance of identifying my m. I cannot identify my slope yet because the 7 is hanging around, the minus 7 is hanging around with my y. Remember, there's multiplication in there, so you're going to go ahead and divide. Everybody gets divided by -7, not just the 2. A negative divided by a negative is going to become a positive, and 2 divided by 7 will stay 2/7. 14 divided by -7 would become 2. Now we are in the form of y equals mx plus b. I'm going to go ahead and identify my slope. There it is. I can simply use my highlighter. Remember, when we are parallel, we have the same slope. We have the same slope. So my parallel slope is going to be 2/7. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my y equals mx plus b, and here is my x, here is my y, and I'm going to substitute them in. So y becomes -3, x becomes 4, and I'm solving for b. Well, you might say, what about m? Well, m is going to be this parallel one up above, which is 2/7. Ooh, really, Mrs. Palmer? This one is tough. All right, we can do it. We can do it. -3, and let's go ahead and multiply. This is going to be 8/7 plus the letter b. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract my 8/7, subtract my 8/7. I'm going to end up with a fraction for b. Give me just a sec, ladies and gentlemen. I need my calculator. Let's see. It's going to end up as -29/7. So my equation is going to be y equals the same slope, x, minus 29/7. It should not be that hard on the quiz. Gosh, I hope not. That was tricky, tricky. But your calculator will take care of it for you. Don't worry. All right, the last one I want to go over is to write the equation in slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b, of a line, if a line, or sorry, I should say of a line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular this time to the given line. Once again, we have to look at our given line. It is not in the correct form of y equals mx plus b, so I cannot have my slope. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solve this equation for the variable y because I want it to look like y equals mx plus b. That's the slope-intercept form. All right, we got to get rid of the x. Since it is a positive x, we're going to go ahead and subtract it. You can never take it away from the 8 because the 8 will never have an x as well. That's not how standard form works. We're going to write it as -8x plus 8 because remember, we want it in this form, mx plus b. When we flip it around, we end up guessing the wrong value for our slope. All right, we got to get y by itself. Remember, there's multiplication hiding there. So we're simply going to go ahead and divide. There's a -1 hiding up there on the top. I get 1/3 x minus 8/3. All right, now I am in y equals mx plus b form, and I can go ahead and identify my slope. There it is. It's very easy to identify. If I had left it, it would have been in the opposite place, and it gets a little hard to identify. And sometimes I end up saying it's -8/3 when it is not. All right, we are doing the perpendicular line, so I have to remember that we are opposite reciprocals. We are opposite reciprocals. So my slope of my perpendicular line is going to be negative, and it's going to flip 3 over 1, which is simply negative 3. I'm going to go ahead, and here is x and here is y, and let's go ahead and plug it into y equals mx plus b. We're going to use this slope from up above. Y is going to be 1 from our ordered pair, and my slope, like we said, is negative 3, and x is going to be 6 from my ordered pair. Oh, good. This one's going to be better. All right, negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. To solve this one for the variable b, which is my y-intercept, I'm simply going to add the 18 to the other side, which gives me 19 is equal to b. I can now write my perpendicular equation using my slope and my y-intercept. My equation will be negative 3x plus 19. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. You've got this.